Can you imagine your reality being twisted, your mind manipulated to the point where you question your own sanity? Welcome back to Toxic Truth. If you haven't seen part 1, make sure to watch it for a complete understanding of how narcissistic abuse can devastate your self-esteem, mental health, and ability to trust. Today, we're continuing this journey to uncover more hidden effects of such abuse and how you can start healing. Ready to dive deeper into the abyss of narcissistic abuse? Let's jump in. Picture this. Your entire self-worth is tied to pleasing someone else. It's as if your identity and value depend entirely on how well you can satisfy another person's needs, even at the expense of your own. This is the heartbreaking reality for many victims of narcissistic abuse, where codependency becomes a central, crippling force in the relationship. Reconnecting with oneself is a crucial part of recovery. Exploring your own values and desires can be powerful. Codependency is an emotional and behavioral condition where an individual relies excessively on others for approval and a sense of identity. In the context of narcissistic abuse, the victim often becomes so consumed with meeting the abuser's demands that they lose sight of their own needs, desires, and even their sense of self. Victims of narcissistic abuse often feel compelled to place the abuser's needs above their own, believing that if they can just keep the abuser happy, everything will be okay. But this is a dangerous illusion. Because the victim is so focused on the abuser's satisfaction, they struggle to set and maintain personal boundaries. The fear of upsetting the abuser often leads to a complete erosion of those boundaries. In a codependent relationship, the victim might believe that they are to blame for the abuser's behavior. If only they were better, kinder, or more compliant, the abuse might stop. This mindset traps the victim in a cycle of self-blame and endless sacrifice. But how does this imbalance affect your overall well-being? Living this way is exhausting. It can lead to a complete loss of identity, where you no longer recognize who you are outside of the relationship. The constant pressure to meet someone else's expectations can create chronic anxiety, depression. Have you ever felt like your entire existence revolves around someone else's moods and needs, leaving no room for your own? How can you break free from the chains of codependency? The journey to reclaiming your independence starts with small, deliberate steps. Begin by recognizing that you are not responsible for your abuser's happiness. This realization is the first crack in the chains that bind you. Building healthy boundaries is essential for recovery. Imagine finally prioritizing your own needs and regaining control over your life. What would that look like for you? It might start with something as simple as saying no to unreasonable demands or carving out time for activities that bring you joy and peace. Codependent No More by Melody Beattie is a must-read if you are struggling with codependency. It offers invaluable insights and practical advice on how to reclaim your independence and self-worth. Creating these videos takes a lot of effort and dedication. If you find this content helpful, please support us by liking this video, subscribing to our channel, and sharing it with others who might benefit from it. Your support means the world to us and helps us bring more valuable content to you. Thanks for being awesome. Imagine being haunted by flashbacks and nightmares of your trauma. Long-term narcissistic abuse can result in PTSD, one of the most complex and devastating mental health disorders. But for many survivors, the story doesn't end there. Some develop what's known as complex PTSD or C-PTSD. But how do PTSD and C-PTSD differ, and what steps can you take to seek help? While PTSD is typically associated with a single traumatic event, C-PTSD arises from prolonged, repeated trauma, such as ongoing narcissistic abuse. Victims endure intrusive thoughts, hyperarousal, and avoidance of triggers, much like PTSD. But C-PTSD adds another layer of complexity, often involving profound emotional and psychological changes. These might include intense feelings of shame, guilt, and worthlessness, as well as difficulties with emotional regulation and interpersonal relationships. In addition to the symptoms of PTSD, those suffering from C-PTSD may experience deep-seated feelings of being permanently damaged or worthless. This stems from the constant erosion of self-esteem and identity that occurs in abusive relationships. C-PTSD victims often struggle with trust, not just in others, but in their own perceptions and memories, making recovery particularly challenging. C-PTSD can also lead to dissociation. a mental process where a person disconnects from their thoughts, feelings, or sense of identity. This can manifest as numbness or detachment from reality, as if the person is watching their life from the outside. Such dissociation serves as a coping mechanism during the trauma, but becomes debilitating when it persists long after the abuse has ended. Furthermore, the chronic stress associated with both PTSD and C-PTSD doesn't just affect the mind, it takes a toll on the body as well. Victims may suffer from a weakened immune system, gastrointestinal issues, chronic pain, or even heart problems due to the constant strain on their nervous system. This connection between mind and body highlights the pervasive impact of these disorders on a victim's overall health and well-being. Healing from PTSD and C-PTSD is possible, but it requires professional help and a strong support network. Therapy and support groups can be lifesavers, providing strategies to manage symptoms and start healing. Cognitive behavioral therapy, or CBT, is one of the most effective treatments for PTSD and C-PTSD. CBT helps victims reframe their negative thoughts and develop healthier coping mechanisms. Eye movement desensitization and reprocessing, or EMDR, is another powerful tool that is particularly effective for processing traumatic memories. This therapy uses guided eye movements to help the brain reprocess traumatic events, reducing their emotional charge and the intensity of PTSD and C-PTSD symptoms. In addition to these therapies, medication may also be prescribed to help manage symptoms such as anxiety, depression, or sleep disturbances. Antidepressants, for instance, are commonly used to treat PTSD and C-PTSD and can help regulate mood and reduce hyperarousal. However, medication is often most effective when combined with therapy, as it addresses the symptoms but not the root cause of the trauma. It's also important to consider holistic approaches to treating C-PTSD. Practices like mindfulness meditation, yoga, and acupuncture can support recovery by helping victims reconnect with their bodies and reduce stress. These practices encourage relaxation and present moment awareness, which can be incredibly grounding for those struggling with the intrusive thoughts, emotional dysregulation, and hyperarousal characteristic of C-PTSD. For those looking for guidance on mental health recovery, The Body Keeps the Score by Dr. Bessel van der Kolk is a profound exploration of how trauma affects the body and mind and offers hope for recovery. Additionally, Complex PTSD, From Surviving to Thriving by Pete Walker provides valuable insights and practical advice specifically for those dealing with C-PTSD. Now imagine losing touch with who you are, your identity slowly fading away. Victims may feel out of touch with themselves and their values, struggling to make decisions and articulate their personal needs. Have you ever felt like you're living someone else's life, not your own? This is the identity crisis inflicted by narcissistic abuse. But how can one start the process of self-discovery and regain their lost identity? What activities or reflections can help you reconnect with your true self? Reconnecting with oneself is a crucial part of recovery. Exploring your own values and desires can be powerful. Have you tried journaling or engaging in activities that you love? These can help you reconnect with your true self. Rebuilding your identity after narcissistic abuse is a journey, but it's one worth taking. The Gifts of Imperfection by Brené Brown is a great resource for those seeking to rediscover themselves. Consider this: the trauma from narcissistic abuse can cast a long shadow over future relationships, causing fear, trust issues, and intimacy problems. But how can one move forward and build healthy relationships after such trauma? What challenges might you face? Trauma can create a barrier that makes it hard to trust and connect deeply with others. For many, the fear of being hurt again can lead to a reluctance to open up, leaving relationships feeling shallow and unfulfilling. You might find yourself pushing people away, or conversely, clinging too tightly out of fear of abandonment. How do you rebuild trust when your previous experiences have taught you to be wary? Learning to trust and love again after deep emotional scars can be daunting. It requires a conscious effort to break old patterns and establish new, healthier ones. Therapy can be an invaluable tool in this process, helping you identify and address the lingering effects of past trauma. Building healthy relationships requires effort and self-awareness. open communication and mutual respect are key. Understanding that your past does not define your future is essential. By recognizing the impact of previous trauma and working through it, you can create the foundation for healthy, fulfilling relationships. Thank you for watching. If you found this video helpful, please like, subscribe, and share it with those who might benefit. Remember, healing is possible and you're not alone.